This dog was on a mission. So it's almost as if it ran around and say, hey, look at me, I'm gonna get everybody's attention. Now I'll show you where she's at.
It was December 13th, 2006, and I was at my house in Moab. The winter season was approaching, and I was wanting to get in shape for the snowshoe racing season and also to compete in some winter triathlons.
Oh, hey, Tess. Give me a minute, okay? Just give me a minute.
So I was to head out on about a 2 or 2.5 hour run, and I kind of had one of my favorite loops in mind. I hadn't done this loop in a while.
Okay, all right.
One of the world's premier extreme sports athletes, Donnell is known for staggering feats of endurance in adventure racing. Single and living alone, her constant companion is her dog, Taz.
I got Taz from a puppy rescue. I remember going to the shelter and there were several puppies there. This one puppy sort of stood out.
Hi.
Because he was energetic and he liked to run around and he was hyper and he had this real playful attitude about him that I liked. I sort of connected with that.
With Taz for company, Donnell is planning a routine training run through Moab's backcountry. It's a beautiful but rugged wilderness where few people ever go. Despite its beauty, the backcountry surrounding Moab can be hostile and dangerous. Just in the last month, 2 men have fallen victim to the deadly terrain, found frozen to death in the bitter desert night. Search and rescue teams are called out regularly to save hikers in distress. But Donnell is fearless. 6 times the winner of US Athlete of the Year, she thrives on pushing herself to the limit in the most extreme environments.
All of a sudden, the next thing I know, Taz was ahead of me and my foot slipped out from under me. I almost immediately knew that I was in trouble because I couldn't stop. And I was moving fast at that point. And then the last 20 feet were an overhang. Free fall. I definitely had time to see my life kind of spin through my head and think about maybe I wasn't going to see another day. And then boom.
It's a horrendous fall. The impact has shattered Donnell's pelvis into pieces, leaving her skeleton severed in 2. There's nothing but soft tissue connecting her legs to the rest of her body. Super athlete Donnell goes into survival mode.
Somehow my brain didn't allow itself to think too deeply about what had happened.
Despite her terrible injuries, Donnell's endurance training kicks in, and she's determined to keep moving.
So what I did was I took my right hand and put it on my right leg and my left hand and put it on my left leg, and I could feel my legs. And so I knew that I wasn't paralyzed. And my next reaction was, I gotta get out of this canyon. I gotta get back to my truck, and I gotta get home, or I gotta get to the hospital.
Taz comes to Donnell's rescue.
Taz, there you are.
Taz has found her way back through the canyon to reach her. She is no longer alone, but Taz's appearance brings more than comfort.
Since he had gotten to where I landed, I knew that there was a route out. So I used him as my guide and kind of dragged myself where he went along the shelf and then back down to the bottom of the canyon.
As the winter sun sets, the temperature is dropping below freezing. Daylight is fading fast, and with it, any chances of getting out of the canyon before nightfall. Despite Danelle's superhuman efforts, she's far from safety. Too tired to go on, she stops for the night. But she knows that this desert has a habit of claiming victims in the hours of darkness.
It was comforting having Taz there. And I also knew that if there was to be, say, a coyote or something that was to come into the canyon, that he would bark and scare any wild animals away.
When most people would probably have given up, Danelle has made it through the night by doing sit-ups. In the morning, she has no time to rest. She intends to crawl her way 2 miles back to her truck.
My plan was to take that gel to give me some energy and then to continue to crawl out.
As the day wears on, the risk posed by the bitter cold lingers. But a new threat emerges. Inside her body, Danelle's injuries have taken a lethal turn for the worse.
I started to feel this inflammation in my midsection, and it was kind of soft and squishy. And I remember if I tried to move, this whole jelly roll would sort of move, almost like a water balloon or something. I remember thinking at the time, oh, it's inflammation.
It's not inflammation. It's far worse. Danelle's shattered pelvis has severed blood vessels in her pelvic cavity. She's been bleeding internally for a day and a half, starving her brain and other major organs of the vital oxygen they need for her to survive. Danelle is bleeding to death. Thanks to her endurance training and extraordinary willpower, Danelle has survived a second night in the freezing winter desert, where most people wouldn't have survived one. Two days after she set out on her run, several phone calls from Danelle's family and friends have finally alerted the police to her disappearance.
Morning, Frank. What do you got there?
I got a possible missing persons call yesterday. I went out to the house this morning to check it out. Lights are on, laptops on, truck's gone. No signs of activity for a couple days at least.
I know her. Danelle Ballinger, the marathon runner. She trains up around Amasa. As a matter of fact, I'm heading up that way right now. I'll take a look around.
Let me know if you find anything.
I will.
Local detective Craig Shumway knows that Danelle often trains in the Amasa back area, north of Moab. He's hoping his hunch pays off.
Bingo.
Now a search and rescue operation can be launched, but it may already be too late for Danelle.
Taz. I need you to help me.
Taz was there with me, and he was all I had at that point. And I said to him, I said, Taz, I'm hurt, I need help. Can you go get help?
Taz, need you to help me. Go get me help. Tess, go find some help for me, please.
There's a dog down there. You see him?
Yeah, I got him.
Taz has found his way out of the canyon and is heading towards the search party. But as he races towards them, John fears the worst. As the rest of the search party arrives, Taz reaches the top of the canyon. But he doesn't stop, and his behavior is bewildering.
This dog was on a mission, so it's almost as if it ran around to say, hey, look at me, look at me. I'm gonna get everybody's attention. Now I'll show you where she's at.
Where is he going?
All of a sudden, down in the bottom of the canyon, the dog reappears and headed back up the Amasaback Trail. So I get on the radio and I radio over to the vehicles heading up the trail.
1T812 to 1T836. Hey, Bago, looks like the dog's coming your direction. Let him pass. Let's see where he's going.
I'm looking over my shoulder, and sure enough, Taz appears and takes off up over the hill. I'm going, you know, I think I should follow Taz for about 5 minutes just to see.
Okay, dog. Let's see what you know.
I wasn't hopeful because I'd been screaming help for 50 some hours straight, and nobody had come to help me. It was the best moment of my life because I knew right then that I was going to get a second chance. I knew I was going to make it.
And it was quite emotional, because not very often do you go on a rescue where somebody's life is really quite on the edge. The look on her face was one of relief, and then the tears came.
Next thing he said to me was, "You got one good dog." And I just started crying. I just laid there and started crying.
I don't think any human could have survived another night in those temperatures.
Taz's extraordinary bond with Danelle has saved her life.
Taz certainly did make the difference in shaving hours or perhaps even days off of finding Danelle. And in this rescue, she didn't have hours or days to spare. She was on the brink as it was.
I knew Taz was a smart dog, but to be able to do what he did, this was a whole nother level of communication. Suddenly, my dog was taking care of me instead of me taking care of him. I look back on it now and I'm so grateful. He's truly a best friend.
Young lovers, Gina Allen and Brandon Day, are on a day trip from hell. Lost in a freezing mountain wilderness with no way out.
We're stuck. We're completely stuck.
When you make a mistake, you probably will die.
No, Mom, of course, I will. We met in the spring of 2006. Within a couple of weeks, went on our first date. And a few days later, he asked me to go with him to California.
I had qualified to go to a national sales convention. I'm a financial advisor. I was allowed to bring a guest with me and thought it'd be a really good time, and invited her out with me.
At the end of the convention, Brandon and Gina head out on a day trip to a nearby beauty spot. The couple dress light.
I'm gonna leave my purse here so maybe you could take these for me.
His pockets full, Brandon leaves his mobile behind.
We were only going to be gone a couple hours, or I guess so we thought.
Among the most rugged wilderness regions in the U.S., Mount San Jacinto is the second highest peak in Southern California. With no access road, The only way up or down is by cable car. And while temperatures can hit the 80s and 90s on the desert floor during May, the summit is still dusted with snow.
It was totally perfect. And I guess you just think, you don't have a care in the world at that point.
What? What is it?
You hear that? Sounds like a waterfall.
Unused to this kind of environment, the city dwellers from Dallas, Texas, don't realize that the mountain is playing acoustic tricks on them. While the sound of the waterfall seems nearby, it is actually rebounding off the hard rock walls and echoing around the mountain.
We eventually did find the waterfall, which was not impressive. We took some pictures, which didn't turn out very well, and then decided to turn back.
Gina and Brandon have 20 minutes to meet their tour party at the cable car station, but going back the way they came is not easy.
We could hear voices, but we couldn't really match up with them.
Meanwhile, the rest of the tour party has descended without Brandon and Gina. Despite Brandon's determination to find the mountain station, the dense pine forests and steep rock faces block their path.
And so at that point, we decided, okay, we have to start yelling for help.
Hello? We're too short. Must have taken a taxi back.
The most immediate danger for Brandon and Gina is hypothermia. Lightly dressed, they're at the mercy of the plunging mountain temperatures, which can drop well below zero at night.
I really felt responsible. It's one thing to put yourself in a bad situation, but to put somebody else in a bad situation is tough to stomach. Well, that night, yeah, it really got to a level cold that I've never experienced before.
Brandon and Gina survive a long, cold night in their makeshift shelter. Exhausted, they've had nothing to eat or drink in the last 24 hours.
In my mind, I'm going through a checklist, okay? There's a series of fail-safes. You know, first off, the tour bus had a head count and a list of names. So they would have known we didn't make it back on the bus. At dinner that night, you know, some people from my firm would have noticed we're not there.
Unfortunately, the fail-safes have not triggered a search. With the convention winding down, Brandon's work colleagues have not noticed their absence. Brandon and Gina climb further up the mountain, thinking they need to go higher to reach the cable car station. They're in for a shock.
Oh my God.
There's no sign of the station. Gina and Brandon now realize they've crossed to a different ridge of the mountain.
See that creek? The creek running there?
We made the decision that we're gonna try and walk our way out of here. We're going to try and follow the mountain river, and it has to lead out somewhere.
What Gina and Brandon don't realize is that between them and the river is some of the most treacherous terrain the mountain has to offer.
We slid on our butts, I guess, with one leg straight out in front of us, the other leg bent up.
You know, if we make a mistake, we're either dead or we're hurt to the point to where we probably will die.
The mountain is too steep and treacherous to climb back up. Brandon and Gina are now committed to sliding down the rest of the rock face.
4 or 5 o'clock, we finally make it to the bottom.
Under normal circumstances, getting wet would be an inconvenience. But with night approaching in the cold mountain environment, it could spell disaster for Brandon and Gina.
Instantly, I'm soaked, you know, from the thighs down.
In wet clothes, Brandon is now at real risk of hypothermia.
And she sat on my feet throughout the night, trying to help keep them warm.
Their hotel computerized booking system has automatically checked them out. But the rooms have not been made up, so no one knows they're lost in the mountains. They've been driven on by grit and sheer determination. Then suddenly, signs of life appear in the distance.
All of a sudden, you just get this feeling of, oh, I think we made it.
Brandon and Gina realize this is not your average campsite.
Stuff had been buried a little bit by dirt. We don't hear anybody, we don't see anybody. It's just a very ominous feeling. So we start going through the bag, the contents of the bag. We're discovering these maps, and there was obvious writing in the white space.
This is today.
This is May 8th. Someone's here. We're gonna be okay.
No, Gina. It's May 8th, 2005.
How have we found this exactly 1 year ago? To the day.
May 8th, 2005. Took a fall. Too weak to climb out a canyon. Down is gorge. No way out. May 11th. I'm 60 today. Here, May 14th. Heading down to creek for water. Goodbye and love you all.
To go from such a high to such a low in such a short amount of time was just something that shakes you.
In digging through all of his cards, I see his name is John Joseph Donovan. At that point, I took his bag and I gathered up everything I could, because in my mind, that's somebody's dad. And somebody's dad didn't come home.
For Gina and Brandon, the horror story they find themselves in is unrelenting.
What is it?
What?
What's it?
Again, the water gets us every time. And that's where we see the gorge that John had talked about. We were completely stuck. He had the maps, he had the compass, he had everything, and he couldn't get out. So how the hell are we?
But the missing hiker, John Donovan, has left Brandon and Gina a lifeline.
When I was gathering water from this pool, I did notice something out of the ordinary, something that didn't seem right. I think really maybe part of me knew what it was, but the other part of me didn't want to know, at least not at that point in time. That's when I made the decision, I'm gonna light the whole place on fire. And it took much faster than I anticipated. It burned for about 45 minutes or so, produced a great deal of smoke. There wasn't a cloud in the sky, and the thought was, I mean, they have to see this. And now about an hour's gone by, and it was the most beautiful sound we'd ever heard, because coming up from the valley floor is that sound of a helicopter. I think we both would have cried if we had tears, but we're both so dehydrated, we didn't have enough moisture in our body to come up with tears. But, you know, the pure joy of knowing you're gonna make it out. We're just so thankful to John Donovan. Certain people just have a way of leaving their mark.
John Donovan's remains were recovered 3 weeks later. The Navy veteran was buried with full military honors. Gina and Brandon stayed together for 2 years after the ordeal, and then separated. Bram has been savagely mauled. The bear has ripped his scalp and bitten deep in several places. But the adrenaline is stopping him from feeling the worst of his injuries. Standing up for the first time since the attack, Bram is in for a shock.
Watch your step there, son.
I'm watching my step. You watch your step.
I'm doing fine, don't worry.
Bram Schaefer has just finished high school. To celebrate, his father Dennis has brought he and his brother to hunt elk with some friends on Horseshoe Mountain in Montana. The mountain rises to 10,000 feet out of the wilderness.
There's no roads, it's just trails, and it's just pretty wild.
September is hunting season, for people and for bears.
We've seen lots of bears. It becomes a feeding ground for them once this rifle season starts.
Now a few hundred yards away from his dad and the other hunters, Bram is suddenly aware that the forest is too quiet.
I kind of got a weird feeling about then, and there wasn't hardly a noise. You know, there weren't no birds chirping or ground squirrels running around or anything. And there must be something around here keeping the birds quiet, you know, a predator of some sort around. Kind of made the hair on the back of my neck stand up. I hollered. She didn't slow down. My next thought was get the hell out of the way. I was just freaking out. When she got done shaking my leg, she just kind of dropped me. I think she was just gonna see if she'd done enough damage that she could just leave me there.
As long as Bram keeps still, the bear thinks he's no longer a threat. The moment he moves, the bear attacks again. A mile and a half away, at the bottom of the mountain, Bram's father and brother arrive back at camp. They haven't seen Bram for nearly 2 hours.
We got to camp, no Bram. So I asked everybody, where's Bram? Have you seen him? No. Have you heard from him? No. I said, well, something's wrong. I got my other son immediately, and we went back up on the mountain.
Let's go look for him.
I knew he wasn't lost. He had a compass in his head. So I knew that wasn't a problem. But for him not to show up was just, it ate at you.
Back up the mountain, Bram is taking stock of his wounds. Adrenaline is pumping through his body, so he has no idea how badly he's hurt.
I noticed my shoulder hurt. My head was bleeding, but I didn't really know what all the wounds I had.
Bram has been savagely mauled. The bear has ripped his scalp and bitten deep in several places. But the adrenaline is stopping him from feeling the worst of his injuries. Standing up for the first time since the attack, Bram is in for a shock.
Ah! Ah!
His right thigh has been ripped from the bone.
I wrapped my hunter's orange vest around the wound and kind of tried to tourniquet it a little bit.
Further down the mountain, Bruce and Bryce Pisecki are still searching for the trail that will lead them back to camp. In the darkness, Bruce is now very nervous about getting lost in bear country.
The uneasiness that I had, part of it was not finding the trail, because I didn't want to be lost. And the other part was worrying about the bear sign that I'd seen. It was just made. I know they're there somewhere.
Dad, can't see. Let's use the flashlight.
No! No! We get lost. We need them batteries full. All right? Okay, so stick close. So we can see each other. That's our trail. Excellent. All right, look. We're both tired. Soaked through. Let's take a short break.
But Bruce's nerves are still on edge.
I'm still got this uneasy feeling about this bear sign that I'm seeing.
His fears are aggravated by the fact that he and his son are using old-fashioned muzzle-loading rifles.
It's a fun weapon, and it is a primitive weapon. It's kind of like shooting with a bow and arrow. You only get one shot, basically.
But if the powder gets wet, the gun is useless.
And I thought, you know, we're all wet. These weapons are wet. We don't know if they shoot when they're wet.
Let's see if this thing works.
I heard a gunshot that was pretty close. I just about jumped through my skin, you know. I was pretty excited.
I think that's Dave. Help me, please!
I'm at the height of my adrenaline. I have my pistol cocked, and I get down below where this guy is standing. He's just shaking like crazy, and steam is rolling off of him.
Oh, have you got him, Dad?
I was in pretty good shape. I was a painting guy. I was up and down ladders all the time, carrying stuff that requires a lot of strength. I said, I can do this. Come on, Bruce, you can do this. I just didn't realize how hard it was going to be.
Bruce senses that Bram's shivering is getting worse. He's in severe shock, and his body temperature is dropping.
Hold him up. Hold him up.
So I took my raincoat off, and I wrapped it around him to try to keep that warmth in him.
All right. Put your arm in there. That's it. That's it. Every time we stop, all right? I'm gonna stand you up. I'm gonna put my arms around you and try and get you warm, okay? Okay. You ready?
I said, God, I need some help. And then I fired off my 3 last rounds of my pistol to try to get more help.
I heard a gunshot, and I thought to myself, what a fool. Who would shoot an elk at this time?
By chance, Andy Wolf has also been hunting on Horseshoe Mountain.
When I heard the second shot, I got that uneasy feeling. And when I heard the third shot, I knew something was wrong. Somebody maybe was disoriented. I thought maybe we would just go find them and help them off the mountain.
Andy knows there are others camping nearby who can help him form a search party.
I knew better than to go up onto that mountain in a storm alone. We were probably 45 minutes into our hike when we started hearing screams for help.
Hey, up here! Up here, help us! What happened?
I'll never forget the sight that I saw. It just was very surreal. Like, holy moly, you know, this is serious.
It's chewed up really bad. I don't know if he's gonna make it. I need some help. It's okay, I'm a doctor. You're a doctor?
By an extraordinary stroke of luck, Andy Wolf is a doctor with specialist training in shock trauma.
What's your name?
It doesn't take him long to see how serious Bram's condition is.
He was going into shock. Shock kills people.
Stay awake, Bram.
Just at daybreak, we heard the chopping noise of the helicopter coming.
You hear that, Bram? You hear that?
I was pretty excited when I heard that helicopter coming in.
I've never been so happy in my life as to hear rotor blades.
Help is on its way.
I was just relieved. You know, I was happy because I thought, wow, he's going to be okay.
Okay. 1, 2, 3. Oh! That's it, Bram. That's it. Watch his head.